determine the center and the radian. So our goal is to take this equation, which is not in a standard form, and then put it in a standard form. After putting it in a standard form, then we'll be able to get what are going to be the coordinates of the center. How then do we do that? We're going to do that by completing the squares. Now, for us to complete the squares, we're going to complete the squares for x, and then we're also going to complete the squares for y. So what are going to be our steps? Our steps are going to be as follows. We're going to group x on its own. We're also going to group y on its own. So the first thing that I'm going to do here is to say, let me group the x with the same color. So I will have x squared. Now, the other person who has x is 8. Okay? So I'm going to take plus 8x. And then from there, I'm just going to leave a space here. You'll understand later why is the space. Why am I leaving a space there? Plus, the next thing that I'm going to do is to put the 1 of y squared. So if I put the 1 of y squared, I'm going to have y squared. The other person who has y squared is, it's 4y. Okay? And then I'm also going to leave a space here. I'll say plus a space. Here I said plus a space here. And then this is going to be equal to, now anything that doesn't have an x and a y on it is going to be on one side. It's going to be on its own. So I'm going to take this 38, which is negative, right? When it goes to this side, it's going to become what? It's going to become positive 38. Now that we have positive 38, then what is the next thing that we do? When we complete the squares, we add half of b. Now, a quadratic has the following. It has ax squared plus bx plus a c. Okay? So what I'm going to do tonight is to add half of b, whatever this is, with its sign. So the space that I left here, we are going to add. But now when we add, whatever we do on the left-hand side, we're also going to do it on the right-hand side. So next thing that I'm going to do here is to add half of b. Now, what is my b here? According to this one, the one of x, it's 8. Okay? So I'm going to add half of that and then I square it. So half of that is going to be 8 all over 2 and then I square it. And then I'm going to go to y, and y has its own a, its own b, and then its own c. Now here, I'm going to add half of this one here with its sign. So what is going to be half of this thing here? It's 4 all over 2 all squared. Now, remember, these things here, I've added them. Whatever I do on the left-hand side, I'm also going to do it on the right-hand side. So I'll come and add the rest. First, let's add the black one. It says which are going to have a all over 2 all squared. Plus, we're also going to have 4 all over 2 all squared. Now, here's what we're also going to do here. You are going to check if this thing here is divisible. When we say divisible, it's divisible by 2. When we say divisible, we mean when you divide, does it leave a remainder? If it doesn't leave a remainder, you divide it. If it leaves a remainder, you leave it exactly the way it is as a fraction. What do I mean by that? I'm going to say 8 divided by 2. What is going to be 8 divided by 2? So this one is going to be x squared plus 8x plus 4 all squared. I'm going to write this thing here. But let's say I had something like this. I had 7 all over 2 all squared. And then I say 7 divided by 2. Agree? 7 is not divisible by 2. Agree? So I'm going to write this thing here exactly that way. I'm going to write it as 7 all over 2. I'm not going to write comma something. You hear that? Okay. Next, we're going to continue with the red one. We have plus y squared plus 4y plus. Let's check if 4 is divisible by 2. Is 4 divisible by 2? 4 is divisible by 2. Here you will have 2 all squared. And then this is going to be equal to. Now you can type this in your calculator. If you type this, you have 38 plus, it says which you can write it as 4 all squared. We just saw it. 4 all squared plus 2 all squared. This is going to give us 8. So we'll put that one as 58 then. We are adding this thing here. These are like terms, you can add them. You type them in your calculator and then you are done with that one. So what are we going to do next? We are going to factorize. The simplest way to factorize here, guys, without going too deep into the factorization, is to understand this. I'm simply going to open a bracket and take the things that have a squared. And then this one has a squared. I'm going to put a squared outside. And then take the things that have squared only. So if I take the things that have a squared here, I'm going to take x. Again, x as a squared. I'm factorizing, by the way. I'm just saying which the simplest way to factorize this thing is to think of it this way. Come and check here. This one is a square. Okay? If this one is a square, I'm going to say this one here is 1/8 plus 4. I'm taking it with its sign. So I've factorized. Plus, let's go to the red one. On the red one, again, you do exactly the same thing. You put squared outside. You open a bracket, you put squared outside. And then after that, you're going to identify the people that have squared. Again, this one is a square. Okay? Write it. On a square is 2. Okay? You come and write it. So you're going to have plus 2 here. And then it says which this is going to be equal to what? To 58. Now, this equation and this equation are exactly identical. Then it means you can determine the coordinates of the center from here. If you're going to determine the coordinates of the center, how did we do it? We said, again, this one, we're going to make it to be 0. Then it means which we are going to have x is equal to -4. Okay? If it's positive, when it gets here as a center, it's going to become what? Negative. And then y is going to be equal to y is going to be equal to what? Then it means the coordinates are going to be -4 is to what? Is to -2. Now we want to get the radius. Okay? What does this thing represent? It represents the radius squared. Okay? Then we'll say which we have r squared, which is going to be equal to what? 8. Square root, it says which r is going to be equal to root of what? Of 8. Then you will come and do the following then. Do number 2 and number 3 here.